I was supposed to go to Mobile, Alabama this weekend for a conference on climate and environmental justice, but since Tropical Storm Karen is also trying to visit Mobile this weekend, I thought I would stay in New Orleans, which gives me a little bit of extra time to do a video blog this week. So here I am live from the banks of the Mississippi River. I also thought this might be easier. I've been trying to put some of my thoughts down into words all week about the meetings I had last weekend with the retired Sawyer, with the environmental nonprofit groups, and with a few of the elders from the Pointe-a-Shan community. And it's just been really hard. I've just seen so many different things from so many different perspectives, and it's a lot. So first is the issue of land loss. Historically, the land in southern Louisiana was formed by the Mississippi and other rivers flooding every year and bringing lots of new sediment down, and when it flooded, it would leave that sediment behind. So that's how the land was formed. This is some of the newest land on the planet. But as a result of people building up the areas and building levees and dams to protect their homes and businesses and communities, there isn't that flooding, that natural flooding pattern anymore. So we're not getting any new land here. And then land is being taken away by erosion, so cutting out, especially in areas where canals were dug for the oil industry or for other kind of passageways. There's a lot of erosion happening, and then there's also something called subsidence. The land is actually literally sinking. It's such new land, it's not formed on anything especially solid, so it's actually getting lower every year. This part of Louisiana loses about 1 inch every 5 or 6 years. Also, maybe more obviously and well known, are hurricanes and tropical storms and other major storms hitting the Gulf Coast. Without healthy wetlands and barrier islands that have gone away with all of the erosion and environmental damages, hurricanes really don't have any speed bumps before they hit a place like New Orleans or anywhere else along the Gulf Coast. So Katrina, Rita, Ike, Isaac, there are at least 3 others that have hit Louisiana in the last 8 years that I can't remember the names of, but let me tell you, everybody here knows exactly the names and years of everything that's hit because the impact has been that great every single time. Other environmental problems include the BP Horizon disaster, which spilled just millions and millions of gallons of oil into the Gulf of Mexico, which washed up along the shore of all 5 Gulf states, but definitely Louisiana was pretty hard hit, with a lot of wildlife and fish unfortunately being killed by this incident. You might see it in the news right now. They're currently in phase 2 of the trial, trying to figure out exactly how much blame BP is supposed to take for this and how much of the cleanup they're supposed to pay for. So as you can probably guess, BP is going to try and make sure that's as little as possible, while everybody else is going to try and make sure that they take as much responsibility as possible for this huge, huge environmental problem. Thanks to the oil spill and so much less for fishermen to catch, you can imagine the kind of impact that has on their business and also just on their own sustainable livelihoods and feeding their families and communities. Other problems, so this year crab prices are especially high because there aren't as many of them, supply and demand, right? So that's really good if you can catch crabs and sell them at the market, but that's not so great if you're not catching enough to feed your family in the first place and have to go out and buy it. With all of these environmental and economic problems also comes a host of cultural problems, especially for the first people of southern Louisiana who are struggling to get federal or even state recognition. There's a couple of reasons for that. They've been in the area for at least 3 centuries, but they don't have a clear paper trail. They don't have a clear lineage because of a lot of intermarrying with other cultures in the area, French, Spanish, Italian, the African American community. So it's just not the clearest picture of a first people, which is really what the federal government looks for when recognizing First Nations. So because they don't have this recognition, it's going to be extremely challenging as the land keeps eating away and they're losing their homes. When they need to move, they're not going to be able to move as an entire community. They're going to be displaced in little groups, and they're just not used to living that way. So it's not just that they're going to miss the rest of their family who's a little bit more spread out than they're used to, but they don't know how to live without them. They've been relying on each other for centuries. You know, they work as a community to get the food and the things that they need. So another problem with not being federally or state recognized, and this one is the one that really just hit me hard, is they have these religious mountains that their ancestors spent a really, really long time building up. They built these little islands in their wetlands by carrying baskets of soil and shells and building it up little by little until they were about 8 feet above the water. These are eroding because of all of these environmental problems. They're having a lot of erosion problems with these mounds, and they're not really sure how to protect them, because if they have them registered as a historically significant place or a religiously significant place, they then experience archaeological pilfering. This is happening in one of the neighboring communities in Grand Bayou. They have had people go down and dig in their religious mounds for artifacts. It just, I don't. So it's really difficult for these people to get assistance funding-wise or even just labor-wise for conservation practices in these areas, because they don't have that recognition that these places are so significant and these people are so significant. I didn't come here because I thought it would be easy though, so I'm really excited about getting some conservation projects going this year. I'm hoping to plan a couple of different tree and grass planting projects, as well as try and figure out some other erosion control projects to protect some of these shorelines. All challenges aside, Louisiana is treating me really well, and I'm settling in pretty nicely. This week alone, I've been welcomed and fed by people from 3 different Presbyterian churches in the area. Everyone's so kind and welcoming and very happy to help me anytime I ask for it. When I was setting up a meeting with Teresa, a woman down in the Pointe-aux-Chenes community, we were talking on the phone, and I was arranging the date and the time and what kind of things I was hoping she would be able to show me around to see. And at the end of the conversation, she said, "Okay, who is this again?" And I just thought it was so funny that she was so willing to show me all of these things and answer all my questions without even really knowing who I was. It didn't matter to her. I was somebody who had questions, and she had answers and was more than happy to share them with me. I'm even starting to get the hang of a little bit of French. I've finally started saying beignet correctly. I don't know why. For the longest time I was getting half of the word in French and then half of the word like the idiot tourist that I was. I kept saying beignet. But they're beignets. They're these fried donuts with donut-like things. Fried dough with powdered sugar on them. They're delicious. I even have one whole sentence put together. Laissez, bon temps, rouler. Let the good times roll.